All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with the 5th round of the AOR GT3 Pro League. Tonight we're in the UK at Donnington Park. This time in the commentary box I have someone with me this time, and it's Fistopheles. How are you?
Hey guys, I'm great. A little bit about me. I was a AOR's driver in Season 9 in Tier 3, semi-pro. I didn't have many races because I got really busy with school and stuff. And now that I've got a bit more time, I decided to join the commentary box for Tier 2, so I hope you all welcome me, and let's have some fun.
Yeah, all these boys do not bite, so I think we're gonna be good. They're very kind.
Yeah.
We're watching Nui right now. Nui is the championship leader at this moment. We're gonna go look at the...
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna go look at the standings in a second. It's Nui that's in first. We have Dakusa in second. Where is he? He's in that BM. There we have him. We're currently in qualifying. Lusty is third. Man, a lot of BMs.
and Midweek Coma in 4th and 5th respectively.
Oh, that's Marley. Midweek, where is he? Oh, there he is. Yeah, we're gonna have a... I'm just gonna transition to that standing screen. So here we have the standings currently. As I mentioned, we have Nui in the first position right now in the 3rd round. Isn't this the 5th? This is round 5. I don't know why the standings for round 4 is
This
missing.
is indeed round 5, but as far as I know, round 4 for the Tier 2 league did not take place as they didn't have enough drivers.
Oh, yeah. Or, yeah. Oh my god, how could I forget? It was the finale of the World Cup, of course.
Exactly.
So excuse me, boys. So we're actually jumped straight to round 5, and we're postponing round 4. Yeah, as I mentioned, we have a Nui in the first place in the championship. Still, he had two very good positions in the 2 first races, and then actually finishing in 16th at Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, sorry. That was a rain race. He probably had something happen to his car or an incident. So, but he's still actually in the lead with a gap of 16 points to Dakusa. That's impressive considering he's finished 16th. So we might see some people creeping up here as people get more consistent and up on those podiums. As we can see, Oblitor was disqualified the first race. I think he got a disqualification because he missed that pit window.
He did not. Exactly, he missed the pit window, pitted, I believe, 2 or 3 laps before race end, and as we know, this season we've got rules for the pits in which the drivers have to pit 5 laps before the race is over. So, yeah, otherwise they will be disqualified.
Just a fun fact about Oblitor. Oblitor was a Tier 1 driver, actually, elite driver last season, Season 9. So he's been given a kick down to Tier 2, and as we can see, he finished very strongly last round in the rain for 3rd position, as he and his teammate charged through the field with those Mercedeses and just managed to climb incredibly high. And I think we're gonna see Oblitor make a move up the championship field. And speaking of the field, we have a lot of intense battle here for from 4th to about 9th or 8th, as we have 65 points for Smolda, 64 for midweek, so we're probably gonna see a lot of changes in the leaderboards. Might see someone, Dakusa finishing very good compared to last season, so he might be able to contend for the first place if Nui makes another mistake this time. I think that's it. We're gonna go back in game and check out the... Oh, excuse me.
Check out the qualifying.
Check out the qualifying, indeed. I think one of the best laps set around Donington Park in GT3 cars is around 125s, I believe, so...
Yep, I do believe that is in fact the case. And what we can see right now, Dakusa with a 126.8, about 0.2 seconds ahead of both Clown and who is RCI? Is that?
It's Rick, I believe.
Arsic?
Yeah, we gotta just call him Rick.
Both
I think
with
it's
the
called
same
Rick
lap
as well.
time.
Wow, that's actually very rare. That's interesting. Hopefully not a bug. Okay, there's someone stuck in the pits, being a gentleman for that car on the hot lap. Some good-mannered guys here. And as I always say to those of you that are new here, the bot is probably gonna spam the chat with that forum link. But if you want to join us, just click on that link and come visit us on the forums. And just wait for another season, and you'll be put in your respective tier. And just racing in the league is just fantastic compared to those online lobbies. So, yep, here we have Rick on track now. Clown actually putting in a decent lap time as well. As as you mentioned, actually the exact same lap time as Rick there. We have a look further down the field.
Currently not much happening though, because qualifying, although the field is fairly close together, the first 12 drivers within 1 second of one another is fairly rare, even in AOR.
Yeah, that bodes very well for our race, as that makes for some close racing. Of course, some words about Donnington Park. The latitude is not that that high of a track, so I think there's not going to be such a big difference compared to power levels in the cars. Of course, the Mercedes is going to be a bit too powerful. I mean, a bit more powerful than the other cars in terms of engine power. But yeah, Donnington Park being a very twisty and excuse me, just go ahead.
Yeah, the Mercedes being a very powerful car ever since a patch a few months back. Where they kind of fixed the way it worked around the corners, making it a straight line machine and also very potent in the corners. Although it is still on the heavier side, so we'll probably lose out in the corners to cars like the NSX. It is very much right up there with the best of the best.
Yeah, about the NSX, I don't think we have that many NSX drivers in this split at least. But yeah, as we can, this track is a very undulating track, and it can catch you off guard if you're not paying attention. Can go on board now with the Kusa, our fastest guy at the moment. As you can see, he has just come on to turn 1 and he has bottled it already.
Kind of bottled it down.
Yeah. There is Lusty coming into that first corner. Is it?
Lusty with a 127 flat. That's also
wow,
quite
that's
an
actually
interesting number to see.
Yeah, that's very rare as well.
So we have 2 people with the exact same qualifying time and 1 with a 127 flat.
Yeah, probably the rarest times.
This is going to shape up to be
ever.
Shape up to be a great race if this continues.
Yeah, as I mentioned, this being a very undulating track here. As I'm talking about it, he gets caught out by that off camera track. Yeah, that the ground just goes away from you there, and you lose that grip, and it can catch you off guard.
Experience, yes. Especially on corner exits, some of the corners are fairly bumpy, and if you're not careful with the throttle, you can just spin it out very, very easily.
Yep.
With Dakuza now setting the same lap time as R6.
I don't know if this is a bug or not, but I think this might be a
This might just be a bug.
Yeah, it might be a very rare race compared to taking into consideration these lap times. That would be amazing if that's the case. But this is actual
indeed.
times. We're
but
on
as
board
it
with
stands
Rick
right now, we have Arsig in P1, Dakuza P2, Lusty P3, Clown P4. Is that Ricky Broche in P5? Yes, it is. Ricky Broche in P5. Marley in P6, Midway Coma in P7, Nui P8, Shaggy Dan in P9, and Oblator in P10.
Oh, yep, the qualifying is now complete, so it seems like this is going to be a grid order. I'm going to check if there's anyone on the hot lap still. Clown looks like he's still hammering it, so might be able to...
We might be able to improve on that time and move up the grid 1 or 2 slots.
Hey, Rick is actually blasting through that... wasn't he on pole?
He was already on pole, but he has just set another fastest lap. Yep,
so further increasing his lead. There's a Rick proving to be a fast guy on this track. He was kind of a midfield guy, I think, previously in this season. I can check the standings real quick.
Currently, he is in 8th. He did not start in the second round, but he won Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, so, I should know that. Yeah, I should have remembered, but yeah. So Rick,
I have the standings up. Don't worry about it.
Yep. So Rick in top form here, as you can see, might be able to win 2 consecutive races if he manages to keep this together. As you can see, though, that mistake there by Dakusa might catch him out. As well as you have this undulating track under you, and having battles as well could certainly introduce some. Yeah, I think this is the finishing order, as Ricky Broch is not on hot lap.
Yeah, it's very likely the finishing order.
Excuse me, I meant the qualifying order. This was not the race.
God. Oh, you caught me out on that.
Yeah, gotcha. Yes, we have Rick then in first, Dakusa second, Lusty third, Clown fourth. Clown being Ricky Broch's, I mean, Shaggy Dan's teammate.
Shaggy Dan.
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, this is the starting order, and we're gonna run a formation lap. So when the lights go green, we're not gonna race immediately. We're gonna wait for Rick there to take off, and then he's not allowed to go over a certain speed. I'm not really familiar with. There's a rule for.
There's a formation point.
Yes,
and the inside line the inside line into turn 1 is occupied by the odd numbers this season, I believe.
Okay, that's how it works. Perfect. Okay. Yep, so Rick then starting on the outside line and might be caught out by Dakusa diving, might be able to catch that position so early on there. So we're gonna go further back in the field. You have Dakusa, which finished very strongly compared to Season 9. He was kind of a midfield fighter, kind of in the back. He was fighting all the time in that. He was a Bentley driver, so yeah, in that big Bentley fighting in the midfield. We have
big Bentley.
Yeah,
it's a good car to drive, but not very fast. It has some of the best brakes in the field, though.
Yeah, I should be considering that mass. Yeah, so Lusty in third. Lusty being in the top 5 usually in Season 9, so not a surprise to see him there. Clown finishing fairly high up in the qualifying order considering his previous qualifying sessions, I believe. He was kind of a midfield further up racer.
I think thus far he's constantly out-qualified Shaggy Dan, his teammate, by a few spots, but I'm not sure.
I'm probably... I'm thinking about Season 9 because that's when I remember him the most. Yeah,
when they were both driving the BMWs, yeah.
Yeah, so with the lights are green now, we can see Rick's about to roll off.
Yep.
And I just can't express my love for that livery enough. That's just an awesome
That is an incredible color indeed. Alright, we're starting the formation lap now. What's important here is to keep the brakes and tires up to decent temperature so you can brake late into turn 1 and not lose any position, right?
Yes, indeed. As you can see, the Marley and everyone is just weaving all over the place now, trying to weave that temperature into those tires. For your information, I believe we're going to have some rain in this race as well.
Yes, rain is set for this race around the halfway to 3/4 point. So it'll be interesting to see what strategies the different drivers will choose. If the rain comes in very late, which it might well do, we will probably see drivers not opting for the wet weather tires and sticking to the softs which they're using right now. So it'll then be a race to see who can best manage a dry tire on a wet track.
Yeah, that can be very interesting, as you mentioned, with the wet conditions. That's going to cool down the tires and can make for some sketchy situations, but it might work out if you can keep the car on the road. So might see some of the more skilled drivers keep those slicks and not go for wet, but might be a good bet. As you can see, I think Rick is about to get on to.
Yep.
Yeah, they have reached the formation point.
They have reached the formation point, which means now the cars or the drivers are not allowed to go above 80 kilometers an hour, I believe. And they must form up in the way that they will start the race.
Yep. So it seems like Rick is actually having the inside line there, so Isn't
yes,
that?
so he will have the inside line into the first corner as well.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around.
It was the other way around last season, I believe.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I'm just getting a little bit confused. As you can see there, Rick just keeping it nice and slow so the rest of the field can keep up. About to reach the penultimate corner, and when he comes onto that main straight, he's gonna reach the acceleration zone, and the zone is a place where he can start the race whenever he wants, so we're gonna try to listen for his engine notes. And there he is.
And the race is underway. Can the Kusa make a move into turn 1? It doesn't look like it. Clown has gone off to a good start. He might just make a move on Lusty.
Seems like everyone is finding turn 1. I don't think we have an incident so far. So
everybody's gone clean through turn 1, but turn 4, the downhill right-hander will be an interesting one to see.
See the Kusa
with Lusty hitting the Kusa in the back. Oh, that's a horrible start for the both of them.
Yeah, the Kusa being hit in the side and the front there and the rear as well, so he might have aero damage in both places, and that's certainly going to put him in the pits for a long time.
Oblator as well has gone off track. I do believe, right? Yes, it's Oblator. That's not a good start for him either.
Yeah, but you might see one of those success stories again from Indianapolis where he just charges through the field with a damaged car, so he's done it before, we might see it again.
Yeah, as we can see, he has some rear-end damage, is what it looks like. Well, the front seems fine.
Yep. We're gonna go catch up to the front of the field again, as I believe we have a battle for 4th position with... And that's a very big train coming into that almost last corner. These corners are very tight, those hairpin corners leading onto those main straights, and they are just so crucial when it comes to straight line speed. So we might see a lot of passing in this last sector.
And they are very difficult to get right. You might just overcook it and send it sideways a bit on exit and lose a lot of time, so you gotta be careful.
Yep. I think we're gonna go jump a little bit further back in the field, as we have actually almost 2x2 action there into that first corner with Howie and Smolda and Master there.
I do believe Dangerous Janetta has made a move on... Who is the man in the green BMW?
In the Mercedes? That is...
Green Mercedes, yes. My bad.
I'm trying to make it out. That's Baratis indeed. Baratis is actually running one of those... I think he ran the Renault last season, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, anyway, as you can see, we're having battles everywhere on the field. We're going to catch up to the front again, as we have Midway Coma and that train still fighting it out. Rick extending the lead, not being attacked by the Kusa as we thought he would. The Kusa being so unfortunate for the Kusa being left behind there in 16th position from that podium fight.
It's a very bad start for them, but a great start for Clown, who's up in 2nd position, and he's actually making time up on Arsic, which is incredible looking at their qualifying pace, in which he was about 0.3 seconds slower. He now has closed the gap from 0.6 to 0.4.
Yes, considering how the setup changes a little bit from qualifying to race, some people might be caught out by it, and from first position might get caught up by a 2nd position, as the car feels a little bit different and you might not race as well as you thought you would, and that's gonna allow the guy behind you to catch up to you, as you have the cold tires and everything. That's not something I did in my league races. I made some spectacular passing moves and then just binned it very hard the first corner because I forgot my tires and brakes because it felt so good in qualifying. So these guys are
very easy to make that mistake.
These guys are a little bit better than me, so they're probably not going to make such mistakes. And I think we have battle on our hands for 3rd position, as Ricky Broch is now trying to catch Marley.
I think Ricky Broch has just lost the position to Marley, has he not? I do believe he was just in 3rd position.
He probably was. Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting sight to see if Marley can keep that position away from Ricky. Ricky in the Audi might be running semi-high downforce setup. trying to catch these people in those twisty bits in the sector 1 and 2. And yeah, I was about to say that the Audi isn't that powerful when it comes to the straights, but so
yes,
of course sharing that engine with Lambo, so I think those are probably fairly evenly matched when it comes to power and setup.
I do believe the Lamborghini has a bit of a more slippery setup on it as stock. I do believe it has a bit of a higher top speed than the Audi does, which might actually become an advantage for Marley when he's in clean air.
Yep, we're gonna jump to it. Then Giannetta, they're making a move on Oblitor, and that's actually a train for 15th position, yes. As we have Giannetta on the attack for Oblitor there. Oblitor in that damaged Mercedes as well, so might be having a little bit of trouble controlling that damaged car with the loss of downforce, and might have suspension damage as well. So Giannetta might be able to make a move. I don't think Giannetta qualified that high either, so I think Giannetta started in that position and probably doesn't have damage, so see how
I'm not quite sure, but as it looks right now, he is very close to that Mercedes, and he's giving him a run for his money, so Oblador certainly can't just cruise the way home, at least with the car in the state that it is right now.
Yeah, as you say that, Giannetta looking on a little bit on the inside of Oblitor, they're just making him a little bit, as he does it again, he's actually diving in the inside there, actually passing Oblitor.
And he goes wide and loses the position out on the exit. And S4 Howie just behind them. Can he capitalize on Giannetta's mistakes? Doesn't look like it.
Giannetta having a little bit...
But he seems to have the better exit out of the final corner.
Yeah, and actually now...
But he can't put the power down.
Yeah, having that little bit of compromised line there and not being... They see both of those last two Andis are having the same livery. Might be different teammates, but
you can see it's
Storm.
S4 Howie and Storm. They are. Nope, they are on the same team. So it's very unlikely that we'll see them fighting for position aggressively.
Yep.
But we never know.
Yeah, we never know, and. Considering that there's not that many drivers today, they are still going to be in the points if they just manage to finish the race, so certainly going to try to keep it together. And Howie being a little bit shaky there, so might have some team orders coming through and letting Storm pass. Storm graduating from tier 3 or 4, moving up into tier 2, so certainly not a good place for Storm to be if he wants to prove himself in tier 2. We're going to go catch up to the front again as we have the Coma battle, as I call it.
With Midweek Coma just behind Ricky Broche, and he might just be overtaken by Nui out of this into turn 1 with that compromised exit out of the final corner.
Seems like Nui had a little bit of some trouble as well, so not being able to make a move.
With Shaggy Dan following, what, about a second or a second and a half behind them, he might be the laughing third if any of them make a mistake. Yeah,
just Ricky Broche now on the attack for Marley, being in so close that I think is going to get a good draft if he can keep that position when he gets onto those straights. And this is where he might lose it, as the car is just so undulating and you lose grip, and he manages to keep it together, getting a little bit of oversteer there, as you can see on his wheel, onto that main straight. I mean, one of those long, I think this is the longest straight in this track.
This is the longest straight on this track.
Yeah, so Ricky not being able to catch up to Marley to get into that really good drafting position. Certainly pushing Marley really hard there, and he misbrakes a little bit and cuts that
and
corner.
Loses quite a bit of time. Now he's under attack from Midweek Coma.
That's Nui. But,
or is it Nui?
Yeah,
Nui actually is overtaken Midweek Coma.
Yeah, I believe they are teammates running the 1 and 2 liveries from Audi there, the official Audi livery. Certainly not hard to see. I mean, it's certainly hard to see who is who there. It's the exact same livery, just the numbers are different. So
they are indeed teammates.
Yep. My timings are broken right now, so I don't know. There we have it back again. That's very good. Clan is actually catching up to Rick, it seems.
Again, keeping the pressure on him, waiting for Rick to make a mistake.
Yeah.
The question is, will his tires hold out the entire race if he does that?
Yeah, I think
following usually consumes a bit more of the tire's grip than just running in clean air does. As you're sliding around a bit more, it tends to heat them up.
Yeah, but I think the race is too short for the tires to be any different. It's a bit unfortunate. I wish we could increase the tire
wear, like
the tire wear,
back
yeah,
in
so we
Proeject
could
Cars 1.
Yeah, so that would make for an interesting race if people had to change tires and not just pit for the mandatory pit stop. Of course, the mandatory pit stop reducing the downside of having to pit for damage. So it was just Clown there.
Clown getting a good exit out of the penultimate corner.
I think
Rick not good enough to make it stick.
Yeah, but now in the position now to pressure Rick. I just remembered what happened to Rick in the Indianapolis. I think Rick had an incident and ended up in like 15th position or something. And then he actually raced his race of his life and actually managed to finish in first position. So that was an incredible race by him and certainly proved his racing prowess. So you might see him just lead to the end of the race here, since he's already in first position. But
we might, but from what it looks like, he's struggling a bit with the tires. As you can see on the hairpins, he's sliding a bit. He's understeering a tiny bit on exit, which could mean that his tires are overheating.
Yeah, or a very interesting driving style. As you can see there, he's coming over that top there and not getting any oversteer, so seemingly being in control of that car, being very... there we have a little bit of oversteer, as you mentioned. The Mercedes being a very, well, suitable for oversteery driving style, considering how it's laid out with that huge engine in front.
The Mercedes does have a very slidey style. As it is the car that I drive the most in this game, from my own experience, it tends to do a lot of full-wheel drifting, which isn't very good on the tires, but it is indeed very fast.
Yeah, just smash it into that corner and trying to get power out.
That's pretty much how it works.
Yep.
Again, as you can see, it tends to push a bit on corner exit. Midway Coma now overtaking Ricky Brush as well. Yeah, and Shaggy Dan just behind them as well.
Excuse me, I'm getting a Discord message, just checking if something's wrong.
Can Shaggy Dan make it stick around the outside of turn 1? That's the question. He can't. He cannot, as Ricky Brush practically parks the car on the apex. Good defense on his side.
Some slight defensive driving from Ricky Brush there, as he wants to shut that door on Shaggy Dan, and Ricky Brush is using every inch of that racetrack trying to keep him behind him. This might be the place where either of them makes a mistake.
It's interesting to see that Ricky Brush, who was doing fairly well at the beginning of the race, is now struggling quite a bit. He seems to be losing a lot of time to Marley and the group in front.
Yes, he does. Losing a fair few positions. Shaggy Dan there having an aggressive look on the inside there, just trying to push Ricky as hard as he can. Make him look in his mirrors.
Trying to force him to make a mistake.
Yeah. So we might see some aggressive braking moves here, so to make him... What you could do is some drivers actually drive on the inside of the car in front and brake earlier just to creep out the guy in front to try to make him make a mistake. Of course, it's very adversely impacting your race time, though. I mean, your lap times, but it could really help you get a position.
Which would then clear you up for clean air and make you drive faster. It's always you gotta weigh your options.
Yeah, so might be an option if you're trading for a podium finish, but might not be worth it if you're further back in the field and just want to nurse it home. And
I think at this point of the race, it's not worth it to try using the tire iron to brake past him, but if you can force him to make a mistake by just putting the pressure on him, just being there in the mirror, then that's probably his best option, and I think that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I think we have some raindrops. If that's too early in my opinion, I don't think. Yeah, that was just my screen, I think. So we do not have any rain still. That would be certainly make for an interesting race, as people would have to pit.
Although I think I've seen a few as well now.
Might be something wrong with the lobby settings. As I say that now, Ricky Broch going on the defensive line there. Oh,
and Shaggy Dan going on the inside.
In those hairpins, as I mentioned.
Seems like he made it stick. That's a great overtake from Shaggy Dan.
But now Ricky Broch looking on the inside again. I think we have some drops.
That Midweek Coma who's made a mistake? And being overtaken by both Ricky Broch and Shaggy Dan.
Yes, it seems like it, as Ricky Broch is now on the hunt for that position back, using the same tactics that Shaggy Dan used on him. Trying to push him here, as Midweek Coma is now on.
Is now also putting the pressure on Ricky Broch. This is an interesting fight, if I've ever seen one.
And we have rain at lap 12, at least on my screen. It might be a little bit different for some drivers.
On mine as well, actually.
So might be something wrong with the lobby settings, or the live track system works that you get a seed when you start the race, and that's gonna decide when the rain starts coming and how the rain is gonna form. I mean, the puddles are gonna form in the familiar places, but they're gonna be a little bit different every time. So yeah, I don't think they're gonna be any. There's certainly gonna be wet tires for the rest of this race. We're gonna see some pits. Yeah, this is.
And the man nobody's watching for so far is Shooter 80. I believe he's closed up a little bit to the group in front of him.
Yeah, I think we have a battle. Stakusa goes on the inside line of Matster there, making a clean pass. Oh, but
he might lose it on the exit of the corner.
Yeah,
nope, he made it stick.
Let's go on board now with Matster not being in that. But certainly the drivers are going to start feeling that rain getting a little bit more slippery, so we might see some incidents coming up here, as probably someone is not prepared.
Matster having that unfortunate lag contact last race at Indianapolis. It is the last race for this league at Indianapolis on the last lap, which sent him a bit down the order. So he's probably wanting to get that get those positions back.
Indeed, and I think we're having that intense battle is just continuing now with Ricky Broch trying to defend from Midweek Coma and trying to overtake Shaggy Dan.
Shaggy Dan has made a mistake. I believe he might have cut the corner a little bit and had to slow down.
Yes, could be. Certainly tempting to cut that corner, as you really want that to put that power down on that curb.
It's very easy to make a mistake either into or out of that turn, because if you're going for the apex, you're almost trying to slice it a tiny bit too far, but hoping that the understeer sort of takes you out of it.
Storm now on the attack for Gianetta. We have lost 2 drivers, I think. Or I think we're good. I think it's just the 2 of us that's filled up the lobby.
We started with 18 drivers, which is a very small lobby.
Yep.
The smallest we've had so far this season.
Trying to pass Gianetta there, but Gianetta taking an incredibly defensive line and just shuts the door on Storm there, as you can see.
Gianetta going into the pits.
Yeah.
This is quite interesting. He might switch the tires.
Yeah, I think
if he feels that this is the right choice, or if he has some damage.
So he's probably thinking that it's not worth battling with Storm for that that position so far back in the field. So he's probably hoping that he can switch tires, and it seems like he's repairing as well. He's very long in the pits. Probably refueling as well.
It looks more like a repair stop than a tire stop, as we didn't see any changing of tires. Although that could be a bug on the game's part.
Yeah, so I think it would be a very interesting move if he didn't change for wet tires now, as it's starting to pour down.
As the rain is actually starting to come down now.
Yeah, we're gonna jump back for the middle. That fight now with Mid-Wickham and Ricky Broch. It's the same order still, with Ricky, of course, with Shagdan falling back there, probably cutting
the
a corner.
Mid-Wickham having lost a bit of time to Ricky Broch, it seems.
Yeah.
And Mid-Wickham almost losing it, it looks like, on the apex of the last corner.
And they're probably feeling that those raindrops starting to fall now, decreasing that grip.
Decreasing the track temperature first, which might cool down the tires a bit too much. The question is, when will the drivers pit?
Yeah, it's been...
A bit too early will probably cost them a lot of time because the wet tires will overheat, but a bit too late and they'll lose a lot of time because they'll have no grip on the dry tires.
Yeah, I'm projecting that most of the drivers will pit in maybe 3 to 4 laps, trying to stick it out on those hard slicks, soft slicks, as long as they can. We have a battle now with Smolda, Lusty and Matster for... that's a little bit of a train. We have Dakusa trying to catch Gosku there. Oh, that's actually Dakusa on the inside line, just passing Gosku as if nothing happened. Gosku now might try to catch that position back, and Matster is now caught up to them as well.
Smolda actually a bit further back than he's probably used to this season, considering he's running in 4th in the standings at the moment.
Yeah, that's gonna put a little bit of a dent in his career, as that battle, as you mentioned, from 4th to 5th, and Lusty getting really wiggly under power. Of course, the front losing the grip there, and
we might very soon see the crossover point. If I were to make an assumption, it'd be around lap 18 or 19 where we can start seeing people pit onto the wet weather tires.
I agree. Might see some strategic moves as well, considering this huge battle for from 9th to 14th, 15th position actually. So might see a lot of those drivers pitting earlier than the rest to try to get out in clean air, but might backfire and put you in a weird position with a guy that's faster than you. Shagdan now.
Doesn't it look like Shagdan has a bit of front end damage on the front right of his car?
That does look like it indeed, and that might be why he had to slow down there, as he probably clipped something.
That might be the reason. Although it could be from running behind other cars, but it does not look like that's actually the case.
Yep. Gonna jump back to that battle here, and we have Smolda. Smolda has
spun it out of the chicane.
Looked
which is
like
interesting to see.
I didn't really catch if it was a shunt or not, but it looked like
it could have been a contact on the rear end of his car.
Yep, BRB.
Right. So far, we've got Oblator in 13th trying to pass Lusty, who has a penalty, which, if I can... I'm not sure if I can pull it up, does not look like it. Matster in front of him also has a penalty, it seems, and the only other driver with one would be Shooter, at least on my screen. Shooter, who's... Alright, we've got... Oh, Clown has a penalty as well, so that's 4 drivers already having cut the track. Shooter having a 30-second penalty, that doesn't seem right. It's could be because he's had a lag hit or overtaken a car off the track, or a car that has spun and he's overtaken it off the track. The game does tend to give you penalties for that, but we can expect it to probably not stick, at least from the looks of things. Arsig has actually pulled out a gap on Clown. They were running fairly close in the beginning or the early stages of the race, but now they're 8 seconds apart. Nui running closely behind Clown, catching him. Yeah, there's only a second between them at this point. We might see a battle between these guys for a second position. It looks like Nui's not having as much of an issue with the dampening track as Clown has, as he has set a 129.1 as his last lap, with Clown a 130.7. This could be due to any issues, as he might have cut a corner and actually had to slow down. That's probably where he got the penalty. Oblator and Lusty still fighting for that 12th position. Matster in front of him, still fairly far away, about 1 to 2 seconds, so he's not under fire, at least right now. Yeah. Right now it looks like most of the drivers are probably trying to conserve the soft tires for as long as they can until they need to pit. With Shooter taking an extremely wide line into turn 1. Only about a second off of Shaggy Dan, who is very close behind Midweek Coma. And Smolda coming under fire from S4 Howie. I believe that is Smolda. It is indeed. Again, it looks like Shooter's actually closing up to Shaggy Dan. It seems like Shaggy's struggling a bit on the dampening track, and Shooter is not struggling as much. We could see Shooter trying to go for a move in a lap or two. That is, if neither of them makes a mistake. Also, Dakuza closing up on both of them. Interestingly enough, it seems Dakuza has thus far had the best recovery of the two BMW drivers that were caught out on or had the incident into turn 4 on the first lap. I was just going on board with Shooter. Let's see if he can make the magic happen and pass Shaggy Dan. Although his car does seem very stable in the tricky conditions that we're in right now. Also, it appears that my prediction was off, as the track has not gotten wet enough for the drivers to go into the pits, as we haven't seen anybody try and go for a wet tire undercut on any of the other drivers. With Dakuza just behind Shooter as well now. We're in for a heated battle for 7th position. With Shooter going very defensive into the penultimate corner. Can Dakuza make it stick around the outside? It seems like he's done the and there's contact between Dakuza and Shooter. That might have left both of them with a bit of front damage, and Dakuza has the outside into the last corner, but he can't make it stick. But he has the inside line into the turn 1 now. Which one of them will be braver under braking? It is Dakuza. He's pulled ahead of Shooter with a great move into turn 1. Dakuza showing again that he belongs on that second spot in the leaderboards that he is at the moment. With Lusty now closing up to Madster, I believe. And Oblator just following very close behind. So he might profit if either of those two make a mistake going in too deep into a corner. With Dakuza trying to go on, dive down the inside into the chicane, and he bottles it. And thus, Oblator has actually profited from Dakuza's mistake. Or, Lusty's mistake, my bad. With Oblator having a slight bit of oversteer on the exit of the penultimate corner. Seems like the rain is coming down hard now, so we'll probably see the very first pits very soon. With that AMG looking a bit unstable under braking into turn 1. I've got you. Dakuza closing up to midweek coma. Shaggy Dan has actually passed midweek coma at this point for his 7th position, and Shooter following them close behind. Looks like Shaggy Dan has actually been making up some ground, gaining some time compared to midweek coma and Dakuza. He seems to be very, very stable in this transitioning period of from dry to wet tires, or from dry to wet. Bit of instability from midweek coma in the exit or on the apex of the final corner. But not enough to give Dakuza an opportunity to pass him. Oh, Dakuza trying around the outside! Can he make it stick? They're still going side by side into the downhill section of the track. Dakuza will have the inside line into what appears to be turn 3, but he is around the outside of turn 4, which will probably, yes, it does give midweek coma the position. And Shooter is now very close behind the two. He might just profit if Dakuza tries another brave move around the inside of midweek coma. Dakuza is now around the inside, and he makes it stick. But can he keep the position? It looks like midweek coma has a bit of a better exit out of that corner, and he's trying to go around the inside of the chicane, but he can't make it. Oh, but Dakuza's bottled it through the chicane, and there's contact between Dakuza and midweek coma. Midweek coma trying to push Dakuza as far to the left as he humanly could, and Dakuza just not having any of it. This is a very heated battle. With Dakuza having a terrible exit out of turn 1, but it does slow down midweek a bit. So it looks like for now the position has gone to Dakuza. With Shooter going into the pits. But it does not appear as though he has changed tires, which is interesting to say the least. As for Howie now fighting Smolda for position 14. Possibly trying to catch up to his teammate Storm. With the downhill section of the track appearing to be very, very rainy at this point. And it appears that... Nope. Storm has not overtaken Dangerous Janetta, but it is Dangerous Janetta, the man who has been lapped. He does not seem to be having the best of his races today. Seems to be struggling quite a bit in the transitioning. And there's a bit of contact between Howie and Smolda, although it might just be on our side, as it does not appear to have actually upset Smolda's car at all. But as for Howie, does send it on the inside, and he does make it stick around the penultimate corner. Smolda sure to want to take that position back, but he cannot capitalize on any possible mistakes, and he dives into the pits. Let's see if he does anything with the strategy. Also, does not appear to be changing tires, at least on my end. It could be a bug on the game side, but I am not quite sure. With Madster now being very close to Lusty. But not close enough to make any sort of aggressive move into the chicane. Oblator might just profit, and Oblator almost spins out of the penultimate corner. It looks like the grip is starting to worsen quite a bit. We're at lap 25 out of 41. It'll be interesting to see when we'll see the first of the leading group of cars dive into the pits. With Clown actually having made up a bit of time to Arsig, with closing the gap that he's had before from 8 to 9 seconds down to almost 2 seconds. Right now, with Arsig, or with Clown and Dakuza having the highest, Dakuza and Midweek Coma having the highest pace, the only drivers being in the 29s. Actually, Marley has just also set a 29.4.
I am now back. Excuse me.
Welcome back.
Yeah, just butting in there. Yeah, the room got a little crowded, so I had to mute, but yes, we're back in action again, so I think you've done a very good job, dude. You can just take my job if you want. We have Rick in the pits.
Arsig is actually diving into the pits. Let's see if we can see him possibly change the tires.
I think it has to be a bug or something that it doesn't show for us.
Yeah, I would assume that is it. Yep. Yeah, I can't believe that anybody would go into the pits and not change the tires at this stage of the race. But he might come out in traffic just in front of him, which is not what he wants.
I just wanted to check if Coma is being attacked by Dakusa here. Here he comes. Oh.
Coming out just behind Madster. Probably not the position he expected to come out in. Especially because now he's being held up by a car that's a tad bit slower than he probably is on the fresh set of what we assume is going to be rain tires. With a lot of drivers going into the pits as Gosku and Oblator dive in. I do believe it is Gosku, right?
Yes, that is Gosku. Gosku coming out of the pits now in clean air, so probably gonna try to put some fast laps down. Of course, in the rain though, it's gonna be difficult to... It might be...
the question is now the point where the slightly overheated wet tire is better than a slightly undercooled dry tire?
Yeah, that's the question. As you can see, the track is not really saturated with rains yet, with rain yet, so
there's still no shining or sheen on the track, so we can assume that they'll still be going strong on these tires, with Midweek Coma having a bit of trouble on the exit of that last corner, which now puts him under fire from Dakusa. Probably not close enough to make a move, though.
Yeah, this battle has been raging on for a long time now. And we have another one in the pits. It's Madster.
Madster.
I think we have a battle on our hands with Marley about to
Marley
catch
and Nui are very close indeed. Clown just leading the race at the moment.
Yeah. Not a very big gap though, so I might still be able to lose that position.
One mistake and he might lose that position. But he does have the buffer of a lapped car, so if they catch Smolda in one of the turns, that will probably lose them a bit of time.
Yep. Mats are coming out of the pits now. Might come out in some heavy traffic. He managed to...
And he's come out in front of Oblator and Shooter 80.
Yeah, managing to get out of those pits, and that's
with Shooter running very wide
that was
on
Oblator,
the exit of turn 1. Or Oblator, yes.
Yeah.
Oblator running very wide.
Gonna go on board now with Mercedes to check how there's lots of understeer there.
It appears that on Oblator's side you can now see spray from, first of all, Shooter's car and a bit of reflection on the track.
Yeah, I think we're started to saturate the track now with rain, so we're gonna see some lap times drop drastically now.
We're starting to have water buildup on the outside of the track as well.
Ricky Broch is in the pits.
This is probably the point where the drivers want to pit.
Yeah, Ricky Broch there pitting exactly when the track is about to get... Oh.
And Ricky Broch coming out right in traffic just behind...
That's not Madster, I'm trying to find it's in front.
That is...
Storm with...
Storm and...
Yeah, that's Storm battling with Rick.
Storm and Arctic.
Yeah, Storm about to make a move on Rick, it seems, as Rick... Oh, yes.
Rick just goes wide into turn 4.
We might actually have seen... Rick might have had the pit issue where the box didn't change what he wanted. It's a known bug, so hopefully his tires are changed.
Hopefully he did not. And there's a bit of contact between... Is that S4 Howie? Or who's that behind?
I think that was a very close...
And Ricky Broch.
Oh, Rick now. Go on board with him.
He's truly struggling on in this wet track. Seems like his car wasn't set up for an early rain stint like this.
Yeah. Dominating performance earlier in the race where he just was in first position, not being able to be caught by a Clown or anyone.
Yeah. He might have gambled on the fact that it'll rain very late, and his gamble might just not have paid off.
I think we're gonna go to the roof cam here, as we can see now. Ricky Broch trying to make a move on Howie there. Ricky
is that?
Oh,
yes,
having a little bit of a shunt there as Rick tries to get past them.
And they're just all fighting for that one position.
2x2 now coming into that first
corner. Losing out on acceleration on the start-finish straight.
Yeah.
Oh, and a bit of contact between Ricky Broch and Arctic. Or
yeah, Ricky, there's trying to salvage that situation there, just blinking those brake lights.
Boratz has also just gone into the pits.
He has. I'm gonna change the view and see. Hey, we can actually see them changing tires now.
Yes, we can now see them changing tires. Maybe this is the first car that's been changing, that's changed the tires. That could possibly be. And he might win the race because of it.
Might be
that would be quite the upset.
Bug for Live Track there. If that's the case, there's a known issue with Live Track that some drivers have different seeds, which in turn makes it's very hard to compete if you get the rain earlier than anyone else.
Indeed.
Oh, Nui is on the inside of Marley.
Nui on the inside of Marley into turn 1. But it does not look like he can make it stick. With Marley and Nui running just around the 4-second mark of Clown, who seems to be managing the gap quite well.
Yep.
All 3 of them have not pitted thus far. It seems like for them there's still enough grip, given that they're turning out 31 and 32 lap times. We would have to see what the lap times of Borat's
they're
R
actually...
to see how...
Okay, so now the animation works. I don't know why it didn't before. I can't really imagine that people actually pitted without changing the tires. It's gonna make them pit twice, and that's gonna be disastrous for the race.
That would indeed be disastrous. It could be that they had selected the wrong pit strategy.
Yeah, that's not something unfamiliar with Project Cars either.
Yes, it's a very, very easy mistake to make when you're in the heat of a race.
Gotta go onto the roof cam.
Just in front of Oblator and behind Madstar. Shooter going very, very, very far inside. And Madstar moving in the braking zone.
Yeah.
It's almost Max Verstappen quality right there.
Wow.
Oh, Shooter losing it a bit on exit.
Shooter taking
Seems like he's struggling with grip. And he's lost it into turn 3.
Lots of oversteer there and lots of luck as well. He manages to save it without spinning and manages to re-enter the track safely as well. Oh, here comes Borat. He's now trying to snatch that position.
Yes. Boratti's with a 2:04 as his last lap. I do believe that was his out lap. I do want to see what his first lap on those wet tires is going to be.
Yeah, we have more people now coming onto the pits as Lusty.
Storm and Lusty.
Yeah, we can see them changing tires now. We might actually be that a lot of the cars that are already pitted only had damage and was not drivable, so we might...
That is very much possible. And Arsig in the pits again, and is that an unsafe release on Lusty's end?
Yes,
that is very, like very close.
Rick having to tap the brakes there to not hit him. Storm coming out of the pits now as well. Yeah, getting ahead of Gosku there.
With Nui also having pit, at least it seems like it. As he's lost quite a lot of positions. With his last lap being a 39:04.
Here he comes now, Clown in the pits. So
Clown in the pits. Which will probably mean his teammate is not far off. Shaggy Dan currently in third position. He also has not pitted yet. He seems to be one of the most stable and consistent drivers in changing weather, and he's going into the pits.
So is Marley. Yeah, as we said, now with the rain starting to saturate the track is just going to be very hard to drive on with those slicks. I think we actually had a very interesting seed when it came to the live track system this time. I think the rain started a little bit very early, but was not enough to saturate the track until now lap 33. As you said that you predicted the rain will come, so it was a little bit.
I didn't. This is. I assumed it would be wet enough at lap 20, but that took quite a long time, especially considering in the practice races it was about 10 laps from the start of the rain to when you would actually have to choose a different tire. So that is quite the thing to watch, but this also means that we are very likely to not see any pits at the very last possible moment. So this time I do not think we have to worry about disqualifications. With Oblator trying to attack Madstar, I believe, right?
That's Madstar in front there as they come up to now the first corner. Oblator seemingly not making a move, they're just sticking behind Madstar, trying to...
But Madstar just not getting the apex of that corner right.
Yeah,
but parking it close enough to it.
Oh, Madstar taking a very wide liner, as you can see the spray coming up from that untouched part of the track. Travis might also be
struggling quite a lot. He might not be on the right tire. I do not think we saw him change tires as he pitted, so he might still be on the soft compound.
That might be
trying to take it toward the end as Oblator goes on the inside and just passes him as if he were standing still. I do believe that Madstar is still on the dry compound tires. Otherwise, a move like that would probably not have happened. And he's just...
Excuse me, I have some woodworking going on, so I'm gonna have to mute for a second again. There's someone cutting a little bit. Yeah, BRB.
With Lusty attacking S4 Howie, but As for how he's spinning on the penultimate corner, and Lusty just taking that position from him. With Oblator now probably seeing that and thinking to himself that he's going to take that position as well. With interesting racing as it seems because of the early pit stop that Arsik has made, he's actually down in 7th position now with whereas his opponents Clown, Nui, Marley, Ricky Broche, and Shaggy Dan and Takuza have all passed him in the pits, essentially. So that early pit might have been a mistake. And Lusty has spun. Lusty has spun out of turn 4, it looks like. Very easy to make mistakes, and Barattis goes past. It does not look like Lusty is having a very good race.
I think Clown is about to come out of the pits for a 2nd time now, if not mistaken.
It does appear to be.
I think he already had the pit, so... Well,
I do
being in
believe he's
4th
already
position, that's
pitted,
a very good... yeah.
He might not have changed tires then. Do you remember if he had changed tires during his pit stop?
I don't think he did.
He might not have. That could have been the reason why he was still in 1st. Given that he is still running fairly high up, but not doing so may have cost him a possible victory.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused about those pit stops. I can't wait to read in the forums about what they're saying. In Clown, they're having a massive bit of massive oversteer. Yeah, oversteer, trying to catch it.
Trying to liken it to Takumi Fujiwara.
Yeah.
Takuza with a lot of oversteer on that exit. Incredible how he just caught that.
This is not the GT3 championship anymore, this is the Drift championship, by the way, as you can see.
Welcome to AOR Project Cars 2 Drift Championship Tier 2.
Yeah. Shaggy Dan now catching up to Clown. His teammate might see some Shaggy Dan are actually catching the field. I think Shaggy Dan has pitted, so...
I do believe he has already pitted, and I do believe he's actually changed on to the wet weather tires.
Yep.
And he seems to be one of the more stable drivers in these conditions.
Yeah, having some drivers are very experienced in the dry. As you can see, a little bit of team orders there as his Clown lets Shaggy Dan pass.
Shaggy Dan pass.
Yep. Shaggy Dan are cutting a little bit of that line.
You might have to give that back, or slow down a bit.
Yeah, I don't think team orders are...
does not have a penalty, as he does not have a penalty yet.
Yeah.
This game is very, very strict on its racing line.
Oh, yes.
Or its track limits, I would say.
Yeah.
But yes. A lot of people not having the greatest of great drives in the wet, with Clown just losing it. No, he's slowed down, probably because he had cut the corner.
That might be the reason Shaggy Dan got past him as well.
Still struggling though.
He might actually have the bug where the pits doesn't change his tire, so he might actually have pitted twice and not be on the right tire. So
that looks like that is the case. His car's extremely unstable, which is a terrible, terrible way to end his, or pretty much end his shots of winning this race today.
Yeah, dominating performance there before those unfortunate pit stops where it didn't work out, it seems.
Absolutely
this
having
happened,
no grip.
That's not Oblator, that's Rick. Going a little bit wide there.
Going a little bit wide there, with Midweek Comet just behind him. Although I do not... Oh, going very wide there, and almost losing it. As we've just gotten in the news, Clown has in fact pitted twice, but they did not change his tires, so he has been the victim. He has been the victim of a bug in Project Cars 2, and they're not changing his tires yet again. What a disappointing way to end such a strong weekend for him. He was
that's
pretty
just
much
soul-destroying. Same thing happened to me in the Endurance League when...
consistency today.
Yeah, I was racing in the Endurance League, and there was actually a thunderstorm race. And as you can imagine, the wet tires are pretty important there, so... Oh, Midweek Coma making a move on Rick.
Midweek Coma possibly making a move. Midweek Coma seemingly not struggling as much as the heavy AMG. This is... Oh, he's on the inside, and it sticks. Look at that. He has so much more grip than Arsig. It's incredible.
Oh, it might not actually be some Rick having the bug as well, so considering how
Rick might
is...
also have the bug.
Considering how strong Rick was earlier on in the race, Rick actually slowing down out of very much, might have cut that corner.
He might have, but he's... there's contact between Ricky Broche and Marley. A small shunt into turn 1. I would call it a love tap, but that Lambo moved a bit too much for that.
Yeah, coming out down into that dip now. This is where those puddles can be so deadly, but seemingly I'm not having any big puddles yet on my screen, so...
Me neither. It looks like the track fairly evenly spread out with the water.
Yep, so...
It is quite disappointing to see that there's still a bug in which the game will not change the tires of the drivers, as it does impact the standings quite a bit.
Oh yes, it does. When I was in the Endurance League, and my rear tires didn't change, but my front did. So I didn't really understand what happened because I was just so sure that I was on wets. So the thing is, there was these huge puddles because of the thunderstorm, and then when I had to go into the puddles because they were just on the whole track. I couldn't really go outside them, and when I got into them, Ricky Broche, there's mold. That's Marley, excuse me, going a little bit wider, and that's put Ricky in the perfect position to try to draft him into the penultimate corner.
Probably not good enough to get him that position out of the last corner.
Oh, he's got him power pretty early, I don't think. Yeah, Marley seemingly pulling away slightly.
Looks like that Lambo has a bit more top speed than the Audi of Ricky Broche.
Yeah, might be a little bit of a setup difference, and as well as a car difference. And Ricky is just now glued to the back end of Marley here, as you can see.
With what it appears to be that Ricky has better cornering speed, but Marley has higher top speed, and Ricky Broche locks up, possibly into turn 4, and loses that chance to take the position from Marley. With only 2 laps to go, it is very, very unlikely that Ricky Broche will be able to come back and take that position from him. With Nui running a great race thus far.
Yeah, and just soul-destroying that this happened as those positions are so high up in the field and that just makes a massive difference when it comes to standings. So getting a second position from third would propel Ricky Broche even higher in the standings. I think Ricky is in 7th.
But we cannot count him out yet, though. Marley might still make a mistake. The race isn't over till it's over.
That's correct. As we can see, Marley being a little bit conservative there in that turn. The track might be just extremely soaked and it doesn't show on our screens.
It's very likely that some of the corners have actually puddles building up on the curbing and on the apexes, which we cannot see.
We can try to go on board now with Marley. He doesn't have his wipers on my screen, so that makes it really hard to see anything. Seemingly not a puddle in the first turn, but as you can see, that track is just so shiny, being all saturated with water, and I don't think it's going to be enough with these cars to wash away all that water fast enough for...
Probably not.
Yeah, as you can see, there's actually no puddles as I can see so far. Rain letting up a little bit in that part of the... there's actually clouds in the live track system, and the clouds are different across the track, so one track might be more soaked than the other actually. That's a very cool feature as well.
What is not a cool feature is that there is possibly an option for different seats for different drivers.
Yep, that's certainly
it has
not,
to be said.
Yeah, that's something. I'm talking about this thunderstorm race all the time, but I just wanted to mention that I actually streamed it, so I had a lot of footage to go from. And some of the guys just passed me, and when they were in front of me, they just drove straight through those puddles that were on my screen, and just did not have a problem at all. So when I uploaded my screenshots from the race, we could see a massive difference on the puddles there. So it's so unfortunate that the game, it's so crucial when it comes to these things that all the drivers have the same.
That they have the same material, the same base to work off of, and then when there's a bug for one or two of the drivers, it's truly a shame. Especially if they're running so high in the front as Arsic and Clown were doing. I do believe that Arsic had the same issue on his first and second pit stop, on which they would not put him on the right tire.
Yep. And that is just soul destroying when it comes to, especially in a league race, of course. You practice all week for this, and then just
and then the game does not give you what you need. I
just wanted to mention that Newey is on his last lap, and this is actually very good for him, as he is in first position in the championship. And I actually haven't really paid attention to Newey. He's just had some unnerving consistency this time. And he
has profited when others have made mistakes. He will be the first driver this season to score 2 wins, with his win at the first round after the disqualification of.
Oh no, we have Oblator
and
trying one last time to get those tires.
Trying one last time.
That was Rick. Excuse me. Yep, Ricky Broch now actually catching up to Marley again, as you mentioned.
Catching up to Marley, but probably not close enough.
Yeah, I didn't catch Newey getting across the line, but it is Newey finishing in first position in round 5 of the AOR GT3 championship, and that's certainly going to put him even further up in the championship lead. It's going to be hard to catch him though. The coming races, he's going to have to make a massive mistake or disconnect or be disqualified for the others to be able to catch up, and I'm going to try to catch the rest of the boys coming up. Now they're coming through the field here.
Coma coming home in 6th. Arsic in 7th, even though he has apparently, we do not know this, it has not been confirmed, but we assume he has had issues with his tires. Storment in 8th.
Yeah, Storm, that's a good position for him, considering he was a graduate from one of the lower tiers.
Clown coming home in 9th. A horrendous second half of the race for him, with the pit stop errors.
Oh, Gosco's made a mistake on the last turn and allowed Howie to pass him. Oh no, poor Gosco.
Oh, that's
and that's for 10th position as well, and that's that's when the points really start to dwindle. Oh no, and there we are.
Matzer coming home in 12th. Horaci's coming home in 13th.
Yeah, that's a good position for him. He was a little bit back in the field in Season 9, so that's an improvement for him. Here comes
Having finished 10th in the last race.
Yep, Oblitor, and there we have it. I didn't get to catch those last guys, and I think that's actually put them out of the race. Yep, so here we have it. Newey, fantastic, consistent drive there, pushing him even further up in the championship. Marley finishing in 2nd. Marley being 11th in the championship, and that's gonna put him in the fight, that massive midfield, well, mid to top fight from 4th to 8th position, and that's gonna put him in a position to maybe fight for the podium. Ricky Broch finishing 3rd.
Shaggy Dan in 4th, Dakuza in 5th.
Yeah, Ricky Broch being in that top 10 battle there, so it's gonna put Ricky Broch in the fight for the podium. Shaggy Dan in 4th. He's in 10th, and that's gonna put him in that battle for the midfield. I'm just gonna go back and go into the lobby and ask if I can get a quick interview with Newey, so I'll be right back.
Alright.
now in the commentary box, I have the race winner, Newey. Congratulations, dude. How do you think the race went?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it went pretty well. I was struggling with the grip as it just started to rain, and Marley was catching me, and I wasn't going to give up a bit of a battle because I just thought if I end up losing it here, I knew I was pretty good when it was wet. I thought I maybe have to come back for that, and I managed to jump him in the pit stop and then keep ahead. But unlucky for Clee, and I think he had problems with his pit stop not changing his tyres, so it's a shame for him.
Yeah, we have a theory of more drivers actually having that issue, as there was a lot of drivers pitting 3 or even 4 times. So very unfortunate bug there, as it's just so destroying your race, and when it's out of your control, it's even more frustrating. So, but do you think you were consistent this time? Because I don't think I've seen yeah, were you consistent? Do you feel?
Yeah, I was pretty consistent. I didn't have no major muck-ups, unlike the last race where it just went totally wrong for me. But I'm quite happy with today. Yeah, it went pretty well.
Yeah, it went really well indeed. I'm just gonna put you back in that box again and bring up the second position, if that's fine by you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Then I'm gonna find the next guy. Oh my god, I can't. Was it? Who was the second place?
It was Marley.
It was Marley. I keep forgetting every time. Marley. Yeah, I'm gonna go fetch him. Both the second and both second and third place does not have a mic, so we're not going to be able to talk to them. But again,
that's fine.
Congrats to Newey, and Newey just. It's going to be interesting to see if we get a season 9 story again with Scott just dominating through that whole season with that point lead.
We might, but we also might not. From what we've seen thus far, Newey is indeed very consistent, but we have a few very strong drivers, as we could see. Arsig and Clown, if they had not had these issues today, they would have finished right up there, and they may have even stolen first from Newey. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next rounds.
Yeah, makes it even more bitter now for Clown, as that's just gonna put his rival further up in the lead, giving him that position. As average, I'm showing the scores. I mean the points on the screen right now, as we can see that huge battle in from 4th to 9th. I think this is going to certainly shake up the field, and it's the fight from 4th to 9th is just, you really want to be there if you want to fight for the podium, because the spread isn't that big, so there's a chance. In season 9 we had 2 dominating drivers, and it was Scott and Ironic. So it's really cool to see that we might see a closer battle for the podium finishers right now. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to join us, join the next season, just go to the link. That
has been spammed by the Nightbot about twice every minute.
Indeed. So yeah, just send me or anyone a message. Most of the guys are really friendly and inclusive. So yeah, we hope to see you in season 11, or maybe even another game or another class. I think that's going to be enough for us.
Yeah.
Everything from us. Excuse me. My English hasn't really been honed lately, so yeah. We'll see you next week at Wednesday. I'm gonna bring up the calendar. I haven't actually updated the calendar, so this is season 9. We're not gonna watch that. So yeah, I'm gonna update the calendar for next time, and I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Well, thank you, dude, for coming, Fistopheles. It just makes
no
the
problem.
cast...
It was a joy.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be good for next time as well. So see you guys next Wednesday.
All right, see you next Wednesday.